All right. And
Brian, I'm here. I'm just not on camera.
who is that?
This is Karen.
That's Karen.
Oh, okay. Hey, Karen. Um, so I'll record it, and the only way you get a recording is I post it on Telegram, or if you request a copy. And if you forget to request it from me, you won't get it because I'll never remember. So last week, just to summarize, everybody got the email with the mission statement. Last week we talked about communications. You can see here to my right just a few of the radios. Now, I got these GMRS radios since the last call, and they work great. Um, Chris helped me do a radio check. I actually received my GMRS license and got my GMRS call sign. It's not that hard. It costs $35. You get it 24 hours after you fill out the application. And I know Chris has got a couple radios. I did a radio check with Lee today, all the way from Falcon, which is unbelievable because I shouldn't have that kind of range. But anyway, I think we're going to start a communications group in people's rights, and we'll assign a channel because that's a good way. You're not going to be able to communicate with somebody on the other side of town, but it's a good start and it's a good emergency radio.
Okay, good. I ordered some. I should get mine tomorrow. So
Did you order the GMRS or did you
yeah,
did you
yes.
order the ham radio? Okay, I would recommend
No, the
GMRS.
TMRS.
Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
that one. The GMRS.
So Lee just sent me a text. He was looking forward to the call, but he had to take his wife somewhere. I didn't read it. So I'll make sure I get him a recording. So the GMRS, good, because you can only transmit on GMRS frequencies, so you won't get in trouble. All
And
right.
I ordered the one you sent me, Brian. So if that's GMRS, it's on its way. It's shipping.
Okay, good. And when you get it, if you need help once you get on the FCC website, because you probably will,
I will.
I sent some people some YouTube videos, but I know there's, even if you watch the YouTube, there's a couple steps that are incorrect. So just call me and I'll help you with it.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Lee said to apologize to the group. Again, I try to keep this to 30 minutes. I'm locked out and kicked out after 45, but whatever we do, it shouldn't take that long. I get right to the point. So Lee was going to cover stuff that I missed, but I don't think I'll miss anything. So tonight's about water. Why water? Self-explanatory. After 2 days, you're dead. Most people might survive 2 days. Most people don't know you could drink water from your toilet reservoir. So maybe people will last a week, but without proper planning, there's going to be a whole lot of people. We all know what's going on in the world. Every week it gets crazier and crazier. And I'm not here. We're not here. It's not part of our mission to talk about world events. I expect you to keep up on that. But if there's no electricity in the city, there's no water. So remember my mantra: two is one and one is none, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with water. So there's, and you could take notes. I'm going to talk about filtering water. I'm going to talk about water purification, distilling water, sterilization. There's lots of ways to make good drinking water. I'll talk about water storage. You need to store water, and then I'll talk about some sort of go off in a couple rabbit holes. One of them is I call bushcraft. So the way that you keep water at home is not the same way you're going to do water when you're on the road. And so I'll talk about that. The sources of water right now, sources would be the city water, well water, streams, rain, encatchment, lakes, and reservoirs. The problem comes in when the grid is down. So I started doing this a couple of years ago. I always prepped, but I got serious about clean water a couple of years ago when I did detoxing. And so I'm going to share with you first filtering water, because I think that's the preferred way to go. But I'll also tell you that when you're talking about bushcraft, or if you got a go bag and or you're not at home, canteens are a great way to do it, and you need to have a life straw. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So first, filtering water. So I have, oops, my router. I have what's called a Berkey water system. I know other people that have Berkey. I'll do a real quick screen share. Let me go to Amazon. So I talked about Why is it not coming up? Hold on. Share my screen. What are you seeing?
Nothing yet.
Okay, so let me try it again. Share my screen. Oh, Lord have mercy. There we go. Now you should see it. You should see Amazon.
Yep, we got it.
So let's talk about Go Bag, since this is what's on my screen. These are all life straws. They don't cost very much. You can see on my camera right here, I have one that I pulled out. I actually learned how to use it. So there they are. It's called Life Straw. That's the one I prefer. You could do your own research, but you need to have one of these. I can take this, go over to Cottonwood Creek, which is nasty, or I can go to any water source and drink through this straw and have water. So that's good when you're on the go. That's good for an emergency. That's good to have in a go bag. Since I'm talking about go bags, I'm not going to go in order here. Here's another one. So this is called Camelback. And so if you're hiking and you're in the middle of nowhere and you don't have a life straw, or maybe you have a life straw and you also have one of these, I can pull it out of a pristine lake up in the mountains or a stream that's not polluted, but I still might get sick. So they have this, which goes on the top and you turn it on. I bet you the batteries are no good. No, I didn't charge it. And this will hit it with UV light and it'll kill all the stuff that will make you really sick. And I'm not going to memorize all the stuff, but what's that stuff that's in the water? E. coli and all that stuff. Okay. So this will kill that.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
The life straw, is that good for one use? How long does that last?
No, you can clean it. So I have 3 or 4. You should get a multi-pack and you can keep one in your car, keep one in your go bag. Because when you're traveling, you need something like that. Another way to purify water on the go is with water purification drops. So they're easy to use. You use 2 tablets in a quart, but you have to follow the instructions. So don't throw the damn instructions away and keep the bottle, because they talk about how you have to put it in there, leave it for 30 seconds. Don't drink the water that's on the threads of the bottle or you'll get sick. So just please keep all this stuff intact in your go bag. There's a lot of other things that go in the go bag, but tonight I'm only talking about water. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's filtering water, and you can use, the sterilization with the UV light, and you can use the purification pills. But the 2 best ways that you should be doing water are as follows. Let me go to my cart. And you can see what this thing costs. So here's a Berkey. This is what I have in my kitchen. I have this exact same one. So it's stainless steel, and you can see it comes with these 2 filters, which I clean every several months. I could take water from my hot tub and pour in here and filter it and drink it within an hour. I could put in water from my water feature that holds 350 gallons, which is full of algae and fish. I could drink it. This will filter down to 1 micron. I did a ton of research. You don't have to do the research. This is the best gravity fed thing on the market.
They also have filter. I have one too. On the 2 black filters underneath, you can screw them on to remove the fluoride
Correct.
out of the water as well.
You sure can. You see this? That's my one. This is my second one that I haven't opened. And it's clear plastic. It's a little bit different, but it uses the same exact filters. So I have a backup. Let me put that away. So you can look online. There's lots of stuff you can do research on. Maybe you can find these on Facebook Marketplace for less. I called the company, and sometimes you can say, I want scratch and dent, and they'll give you one that's scratch and dent. So if this is a stretch for you to be able to afford, but you can't replace clean drinking water. I went to the EPA website, looked at all the stuff that's in our city water, which I used to drink a lot, and I thought it was good, and it's not. It's not as bad as it is in a lot of other places, but you don't want to be drinking tap water here in the city. Okay.
No.
So Berkey is one way to do it. Another way to do it, and I gave this to my daughter, but and this is not as efficient, but you can distill it, and they make these. So as long as you have power, you don't need power for Berkey, as long as you can find water, but you need power for this. But this makes distilled water, which is used for other things than just drinking. Okay. Probably not the preferred method for drinking, but this is another way that you can do it. when I go on travel and I have my backpack, you can't bring water into the airport, but you can bring these. And these are Brita and they have little filters in them and you can take the water in the bathroom or the water fountain and you can filter it and drink cleaner water. So this is another
you.
for sort of on the go.
Mhm.
So you can use plants. I put something on Telegram where you can use pine tree branches, you can use grapevines, you can use different vines that you can use in a pinch. Now that's more bushcraft. You're not going to want to do that for every day, but if you find yourself and you don't have that, go look at Telegram and I put a thing on there on how to do that. So again, marketplace is a good place if money's an issue. But you got to have water, so I wouldn't go cheap on it. Any questions on water purification before I move on to storage? And I'm always conscious of the time, so we're 15 minutes in, we're good.
Yeah, Berkey filters, how do you clean those?
So basically, there's a little nipple that comes with them. You unscrew them, and you take it to a certain kind of a spigot in your house, and you flush water backwards.
Ah, okay.
You can wipe it off with Scotch Brite, and then flush it backwards, and then you're good to go. I've been running city tap water through it, and I don't notice a real slowdown at all. Now I'm sure if I went out to Cottonwood Creek, or if I went into a dirty pond and I put water in there, it's going to clog up a lot quicker. You have to clean it more often. But with city water, you might clean it once every 6 months.
Okay, thanks.
And in my emergency, like, oh shit, on Amazon, like the shit's about to hit the fan, I have certain things that are in there that I want to order at the last minute. Extra 2 water filters for Berkey, that's one of them, because they're about
Yeah.
$120. Okay.
One thing people need to remember is their hot water heater. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't even think about their hot water heater having water in it. I'm sure you all know that though.
Yeah, if the electricity goes out, you have drinking water even if you don't store it. But that's not the preferred method, but that's a good source of 30 gallons or so.
Yeah.
So
You can
now,
also get those aqua things, right, that you put in the bathtub. I think they hold like what, 30 or 40 gallons. Hyper.
I just
Yeah.
I just ordered
You know
this.
that you fill, yeah, one of those.
So
Yeah, I
So
got
you
one of
guys,
those.
you guys are segueing into water storage. That's perfect timing. This was $34 on Amazon. So
Mm-hmm.
here's what I just ordered. It came in today. 100 gallon, BPA free, safe to drink, sits in your
Okay.
tub. You can see the picture right there. So at a minimum, you should have one of these. That's a boatload of water. You can also purchase the 5 gallon jugs from the store. You can go spend $8 and get a 5 gallon jug and just don't return it. That's 5 gallons. If you have pets like me, you're going to go through a lot more water. So you better, you got to take all that
That's
into
what I
account.
was thinking about with my dogs and everybody. It's like, my gosh, we're storing a lot of water. The chickens, the ducks.
Well, I
They
don't
all
feed
need
my
water.
chickens or geese or cats. Actually, I feed my cats and dogs the filtered Berkey water because it doesn't cost me much. It doesn't cost me anything.
Right.
Chickens and fowl, no, probably not. We don't do that. But that brings me to another way to store water, and that is rain barrels. So I do have rain barrels on my property. With me, if I get a 1/4 inch of rain, I fill up 55 gallon jug.
Yeah.
Even in the winter time, you can't leave water in there, it'll freeze, and sometimes I screw that up and break a valve. But you can still, if you empty it, if you get a snow melt and you let it fill and then you take it from the rain barrel and transfer it, you can store water that way. You're going to have to filter it, but at least it's water.
Right.
Hey, Brian, how much
Yeah.
was that 100-gallon bathtub storage? I've not seen that before. That looks cool.
I think it was $35.
Gee.
When I bought one 10 years ago, they were $24. So they're $34.
That's not for 100 gallons?
Yeah, let's go, Brandon.
Ah,
So
Yeah, but no, I mean that to me that's cheap. I mean, I was looking at units that I would put in my garage and they were with a spigot and they were several $100s.
well, look at that. It comes with a pump and everything. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, after this call, like some people went out and got radios. You need to be getting one of these tub liners, and you need to be
Yeah.
getting a Berkey water filter if you don't have a way to filter water. Some people have reverse osmosis in their house. That pretty much does the same thing. But you know, the nice thing about the Berkey, you could take that if you had to bug out somewhere, you could take it with you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to drink through a life straw. I think
Not
you
that
should have a
heavy.
straw. I have canteens. We'll talk about security. You got to have water when you're doing security or you're doing high threat stuff. And so I have, you know, military issue canteens, 2 quarts, 1 quarts. Those are great storage devices as well. And again, the big problem is going to come in if the grid goes down, because if the grid goes down, the city won't be able to pump water.
Right.
So you're going to be foraging for water with a lot of other people. And that's where security is going to come in also, because
Yeah.
if the shit ever hit the fan for a prolonged period of time, not only will you have people seeking water at those places, you're going to have predators there too. And
Mhm.
so you have to be able to protect yourself.
Brian, do you
yeah.
have to put in like a couple drops of bleach or something like that to make sure that the water stays fresh?
In what situation?
Like, let's say you do this, but let's say you just decide, listen, I'm gonna prepare, so I'm gonna get this bathtub thing and I'm gonna fill it next week. Um, would it would it be beneficial to put a couple drops of bleach in there to try and make sure that the water doesn't,
I don't think so. Water will keep for weeks. If
will
you're
it?
like, if there's no sunlight in there,
Yeah,
I have a skylight in my bathtub, but I could throw a
I-
towel over the water thing. I mean, it's not a big deal. So it's nice
okay,
and cool in there, and it's, you know, the tub is lined, so it ain't going to spill out anywhere.
okay,
And you're going to be siphoning it off and using it. I would only fill it at the last minute.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me go back and see if there's anything else in my cart. I don't think so. No. All right, let me stop sharing. So, and we are 20 past the hour. So I just want to see if there's any questions. I mean, that's pretty much it. You got to have water and you got to have a lot of it depending on your situation. I'll need more than Chris and Karen will because of the animals. And Anita, you got a lot of animals too.
Mhm.
Denise, you're by yourself. You're not going to need as much, but it's better to have more than you need, right? Because you
Right.
know how long something's going to last. Communication comes in because you need to know what the hell is going on.
Right.
Just go back, and I know people bought these GMRS radios. Chris and I did a radio check. I tested them. It doesn't matter, you know, we used the either one of these antennas. We use these, but the range, we were at my house. Everybody, I'm at near Vickers and Academy, and we had good communications to Austin Bluffs and Academy, and then it was pretty good at North Carefree, and then it sort of dropped off. So, but I'm behind Austin Bluffs, so it's really terrain dependent. It's really not going to be good unless you have line of sight. If you live out in Falcon, you can talk to somebody 10, 12 miles away. But if you live in the city, you're only going to have a couple mile range. But there's a repeater, and once you get your license, I went on to the repeater for GMRS and I requested permission with my call sign, and I received permission. So I know what channel it's on, I know the tone you need, and entering that into the radio is not hard. You're going to think it's hard until I show you how, and then it's really easy. So with the repeater, as long as you can reach the repeater, and there's 4 in Colorado Springs, only one of them are up right now. Only one of them is working. So if you can reach the repeater, you're good to go. If you can't reach the repeater, you're going to be limited to your neighborhood, even with those radios. But again, they're better than nothing. And you have an FM radio, you have a flashlight on here. I mean, you have other things, but you're mainly doing it to communicate with people in your neighborhood. So if you don't have anybody in the group that's near you in your neighborhood, reach out to people in your neighborhood and find out people who are
Yeah.
interested in prepping. I think that's key. So I'm going to open it up for questions about water or communications, and then I want to talk about what we're going to discuss next Thursday. Well, let me talk about what we're going to discuss next Thursday, and I want to open up for Q&A. Next Thursday, we're going to talk about security. And so when I talk about security, I'm talking about, it's a pretty wide topic. But you got to be able to defend what you have. So I could talk about, and I want to know where you want me to focus. I'm taking notes. I want to talk about basic firearms. I can talk about optics. I can talk about tactics, early warning, teamwork, camouflage, barriers, body armor, drones. There's a lot of things I can talk about with security. I don't think I want to get into drones. I'd like to stick to the basic firearms. Maybe tactics or early warning. I don't know. What does everybody think?
Certainly basic firearms. Yeah, tactics.
Early warning might be
Oh.
good.
Karen says early warning.
I mean,
How can we, be on guard?
Okay.
that would be an issue. Early warning would be an issue with getting your water and the prep done if there's going to be a problem.
What I'm talking about early warning is setting up perimeter early warning, trip devices, things like
Oh,
that.
I see.
Cameras.
Yeah, cameras.
So going back, then Brian, I'm going back. How would we know we needed to get water? If the grid goes down and everything goes down and we don't have much warning, how?
No, you don't. But if there's a threat of a nuclear war, which I think may be coming, and I'm not the only one who thinks this way, I talk to other people. If there are riots, if there's sabotage, the Venezuelan gangs are making national news.
I saw that today.
Yeah,
Can you
Aurora.
imagine, because I think it'll start in the big cities, but can you imagine if the millions and millions of illegals here somehow get firearms like these gangs are getting, and they decided to be terrorists? Like if I was a terrorist, I'd take down the power grid. I'd mess up with the water supply. You can kill millions of people taking the power out. You don't have to use an EMP.
Yep.
Somebody reported on the tens of thousands of ammonium nitrate that went missing on a train out of Montana. If that gets in the wrong hands, it doesn't take much. Remember Oklahoma City? Well, can you imagine if you did that to a power station or you did it to a bunch of them? And there's millions of people, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's certainly not out of the possibility. And so a grid down is the worst scenario. If the power goes out and it stays out, we're in a world of hurt. You can't pump gas, you can't do anything. And so you'll have warning. It's not going to be like, boom, an EMP went off and there's nothing. Okay. And if that happens and you have Berkey and you have some of this stuff, you're prepared anyway. You're prepared better than 99% of everybody else out there, or at least 90%. And so security is being able to protect what you have. And there's all kinds of stuff I can talk about with firearms. What kind of ammunition you should be using? What kind of ammunition do you practice with? If you have a shotgun, what kind of ammunition should you be using for home defense so you don't kill somebody across the street from you? There's lots of things we can go into. So I would encourage people to have questions next Thursday that we can answer. Anything else? I mean, it's open forum right now. So I bought a handgun today, so the laws have changed since the last time I bought a firearm. Because 2 is 1 and 1 is none, and I always carry a concealed weapon. Well, starting next week, I'll be carrying 2, and one will be in an ankle holster that nobody will see either.
How much is a small handgun?
Depends on the type of a handgun you want.
Just really basic.
Well,
I
like
don't have a gun.
like I went to my neighbor's house today. She's Jane, Chris, and I helped her through her firearms because I hadn't looked at them in 20 years. She had a 44 Magnum. She had a 38 Special. She had a 9mm. She had a Beretta 22 caliber pistol. And the only one that she's going to be proficient with, and I told her to get good with, and I'll help her, is going to be the 38 Special. What I bought today at a pawn shop was a 38 Special with an internal hammer so it won't snag when it comes out of my pants. And I bought it for $275.
Okay.
And they have some nice stainless steel ones for $350. So you don't have to spend a fortune. And a revolver is dummy proof. I can teach anybody how to use a revolver. I can't teach anybody how to use a semi-automatic Glock. But even feeble people can use a revolver.
And what do you think about those Byrna guns that they advertise on Glenn Beck?
Those are for people who live in a shitty state that can't get a firearm. They're not for you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's non-lethal, it's effective, but it ain't going to stop somebody on drugs.
No, okay.
You want something
Brian,
that's gonna put a big hole in them and they're not gonna come at you anymore.
now Brian, you mentioned a change in the law. You can't take a gun home same day.
No, you can't.
No,
So
you
I have
gotta
to
wait.
I have to wait 3 days now.
Yeah, there's a
Here, I
3-day
got plenty of
waiting.
firearms, but if the shit hits the fan, you don't want to have to go buy a firearm and wait 3 days.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't know about that change, so thank you.
And if you need me to go to a gun store with you, just let me know. If you need basic firearm safety, I'll teach you how to have basic firearm safety. No big deal. One-on-one. I don't care.
Hey, Brian, I got a suggestion about security.
Yeah.
How to defend your residents in an urban environment, in a residential neighborhood.
Okay.
You got to be able to defend what you have.
Do you know people that live in your neighborhood that are like-minded?
So,
Well, that's going to be
My sister's around the corner.
that's going to be part of your plan. You're not
who
gonna
let, who let
you
Denise
can't
on?
stay up 24/7, and that's why I invited neighbors to this, and unfortunately, not very many of them showed up. But the Lord helps those who help themselves. So God forbid the shit hits the fan, you need to have more than just you or your immediate household.
Yep. Herb, I bought the walkie-talkies because my sister's around the corner. So
Okay,
you.
yeah.
from
missed,
you know what I
That's
mean?
good.
Yeah, I missed last week. I need to catch up on those frequencies and whatnot.
I
Well,
missed
just
it
send me an
too.
email or send me a text and say, hey, I need a copy of last week so that I don't forget to do it.
All right.
What else? I mean, I'm keeping everything in my Faraday cage, so that's another thing that you're gonna need, and that's not absolutely necessary, but it's a good idea because they don't cost very much. Um, so when I'm done on this call, all these radios, with the exception of one, are going back in my Faraday cage.
Where'd you get a Faraday cage?
Walmart.
Okay.
It's a big aluminum 50-gallon trash can. You can buy them at hardware stores. It's just the standard galvanized aluminum. I line it with bubble wrap and I put bags and bubble wrap and pack all my electronics in there. Anything I want to survive any kind of a electric
Okay.
pulse.
And it's good enough then to just put the lid on?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you didn't get the book, I know Chris got it. Chris is going to start reading it soon, but you need to get 1 second after and start reading it because it's going to provide you the motivation to move forward if you're not already motivated.
Yes, it's a good read. They also have it on audiobook on the Libby app for the public library.
Okay, good. Yeah, I know somebody who, I think my sister downloaded the audio version and somebody else did. So it doesn't matter how you listen or read it, but you need to do it.
And on that note, what's a good hard copy? You know, you got all these resources online, but if the electricity's gone, what's a good hard copy prepper book? Anybody know?
There is no such thing. But when you read that book, you're going to find out what they did when the shit hit the fan and the whole country lost electricity. They went to the college's library and they started pulling out books on steam powered this and you going back 150 years and how do people get things done?
Okay, well, for personal reference, you know, at your home, it's good to have something like that. I think I've heard of the Prepper's Bible. I don't know whether that's good or bad.
I don't know that. I don't know. Well, I've heard to this book that I'm referring to is the Prepper's Bible, but it doesn't teach you how to prep. It just puts you in the right mindset. And you'll learn some things from there. Like if you or anybody in your household is on prescription medications or you're a diabetic, God forbid, you need stuff like that. Why do you think pharmacies are one of the first places looted in a disaster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
Well, you
kill each
can't
other for
remember
prescription
everything, so-
medication. And that's why you don't go in there without several people, armed people. If you're going to raid a pharmacy for something, you better be going in there loaded to the hilt.
And you know, it's interesting when it comes to insulin. I did some research on there because when it comes to herbs, usually there's pretty much a plant for every ailment that we experience except insulin.
Oh,
There is nothing that would supplement that grows in nature that could be used. So
That's
if
too bad.
anybody is diabetic,
Yeah.
better make
Get
sure
all
you
kinds
have the
of
insulin
cake or something.
at
Insulin.
hand extra.
Yeah.
Well, I will also tell you guys that you can go to YouTube and you can look. There's lots of people that will tell you how to use these radios, and it's not that hard. It's hard if you don't know what you're doing, but the ones that you ordered, these GMRS, all the channels that you can transmit on come in pre-programmed. Now you can listen to other things, but they couldn't be more simple. So I think getting your license would be harder than learning how to operate the radio. And we'll have an advanced communications class in 3 or 4 weeks where we talk about radio etiquette and all that stuff. Because
Yeah.
we'll do a communication exercise with the group and all that stuff too.
That works.
Yeah, working the radio today, Brian. That was yeah. Once you showed me a few things, it was a simple operate.
And I have a base station here and I have a 2-meter antenna on top of my roof. So I'm sure I can transmit a lot further with that than you can on these. But I wouldn't be able to hear you, but you'd be able to hear me. We might do that test sometime, Chris.
Okay.
I bet you I can reach you all the way down to Schriever or all the way
Yeah.
down to Peterson, but you won't be
Yeah.
able to transmit back. So
Yeah, we can do it.
okay, so next week we'll be on security. The following week, what do we want to do? Do we want to do medical? That's probably not a bad idea, or we can circle back and do communications again. I recommend we do medical or maybe medical and miscellaneous, and people can send me topics. I'd like somebody to help co-present on the medical because I do have some really crazy prepping stuff for that, but my knowledge is limited as far as I'm basic first aid, CPR. I'm not a combat lifesaver. I don't know how to do an IV, but I know basic trauma. Would anybody like to co-present?
I could
Okay.
put a few cents to it.
Yeah, can you talk about maybe your point of view from medicinal stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
by using what's around us to keep us healthy and nurtured, especially if we're on foot. Because I mean, gotta be realistic. How much can you carry?
Well, when I
No,
want you to
it's
make everybody take good notes because again, you can go on to Amazon and you can put it in your cart and then save it for later. And you need to have like oh shit, here goes $1,000 to buy a bunch of stuff that if it's really getting serious, that's going to make me sleep at night. And I'm talking about things like tourniquets and Israeli bandages and the
Mhm.
extra filters and all kinds of weird stuff because when it gets ugly, people are going to get hurt. I mean, I even have body armor sitting right over here. So, and a year and a half ago, I couldn't even put it